On to round 9. We are going into this round 4-4. And we win the die roll, and so this hand's a frustrating hand, right? Like, we have a Cavern of Souls. Actually, we only have one blank in this hand. This isn't so bad. Never mind. We might, like... actually, this hand's pretty well set up. We get to cantrip on turn 1, hopefully find a protection piece. Brainstorm on turn 2, hopefully get rid of our Cavern. We probably don't want either of those cards. Maybe Limdul's Vault was okay. We didn't really want to draw the Oracle. But that's fine. Now opponents dropped an island. We might actually be more excited about the Cavern, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess the thing about having the Cavern in hand is we can then not have to draw it, so we can probably just make a more streamlined pile if we need to. I still think we're probably going to shuffle it away. Play our Brainstorm. And now we definitely want to get rid of the LED. No. Okay, I would question that decision. I'm more into probably getting rid of the LED at this point than anything else. I guess this gives us the option of going fast with a Street Wraith if we need to. So basic Island, Lotus Petal, Preordain. Doesn't kind of... When I see this, I would normally think something like Storm or Sneak and Show with the cantrip velocity. Like it's also possibly a Doomsday deck, and it might be the Mirror. But I would not expect to see a great deal of Doomsday, and probably not that much Storm anymore either. So, or Sneak and Show, so it's a little bit tough. And from memory, we actually get dazed here, so this was a bad play in the end. Yeah, there we go. I had the land to play out, and I did not, which is 100% wrong. And then yielded through turn. So this is obviously me coming into round 8 of a fairly long day and making mistakes. I shouldn't be making excuses, but I've definitely made more punts in the last couple of rounds here than I did early on. And opponents definitely got the advantage on us here, having access to a decent number of cantrips. So they've been bricking on lands. So hopefully that means, and there's a Force of Will, which isn't doing anything at all. So hopefully the fact they're bricking on lands means they've got a while to go before they can go off. And so I guess the days that we saw here, look, lets us know that they're going to be on Doomsday or Sneak. I think we would normally at this point just hazard a guess and assume Sneak and Show. Uh, just as a far more common deck than Doomsday. Uh, Preordain's a nice pickup. But we do need to, I think we want to preordain into like a Brainstorm and another blue card. Put the other blue card on top, Brainstorm next turn. And we are seeing a lot of lands. So they're dazing to force us to use our LED. This is one of those times where if we'd made our land drop, we wouldn't even have to worry about this. So we can pay for the days. Now they force, and now we know for sure it's Sneak. And now we're almost certainly in a lot of trouble, although they are still a couple of lands away from going off. Boseiju, maybe Boseiju is a little bit interesting. It's quite uncommon. We need to cycle our edge. And we're cycling a C here rather than the Badlands because we do still have a red Elemental Blast, or a Pyroblast, I'm sorry, in our deck. Which actually doesn't do anything against Boseiju, so we probably just should have cycled Badlands, as we want more blue mana. And here comes the show and tell. We'll see what comes in. And Grizzlebrand's enough, no point in playing against a Grizzlebrand in play. You will just near can't win. So we want Rebs and Flusterstorms here, and we're just going to try to fight. It's one of those times where we wouldn't mind having a Spell Pierce, so that we can try to fight the sneak attack a little bit more easily. We want the Cavern of Souls, so I think that's the incorrect cut, and I think that should instead be Swamp. Like, we do want to trim a land here. And beyond that, trimming a couple of Preordains makes sense. I think I don't mind having Lotus Petal over Lion's Eye Diamond, but Lion's Eye Diamond does give us a lot more velocity, so it's much of a muchness here. Maybe not. No, I think it does need to be the Petal over the LED, even though I don't like it. Like, Lion's Eye Diamond is just... It's not a great card when you have to sacrifice your entire hand. You need to do it when you're 100% you're in the clear. So that's probably a small error. Keeping all 4 Duresses is fine. We do want Lim-Dûl's Vault. We are playing against a combo deck, so we don't want to play too slow. An opponent has a bit more action than we do, even if their combo is a little bit clunkier to set up, being 2 parts. They do have a bit more action overall, and so Lim-Dûl's Vault just helps even that out. And this hand is just fine, and I think we lead on Duress into Preordain. Strikes me as the best way to go about it. And so we just take their Brainstorm. So if they top deck here, we might be in trouble, but we have a few turns. They don't have acceleration. We've taken their only cantrip. So they need to top deck multiple pieces at this point. And even better, they're not super inclined to Dazus. Because it sets them back a turn. And we're pretty chuffed to have both of these cards. We're going to be able to hard cast our Doomsday relatively soon. We just need to remember to play around the days. And all of these cards are nice. So Days is going to let us beat just like a straight up. Well, it's just going to let us easily counter the first show and tell, with Pyroblast remaining for the second show and tell, and we still have cantrips coming as well. So we're starting to get into a fairly commanding position, I think. Defensively, that is. We still need to find a way to resolve our Doomsday. This is looking good. So we can Brainstorm into a Flusterstorm or a Duress. So I think we're going to... Do we stack Duress on top of our library? I can't remember. If Duress is coming, I think we Duress next. And maybe should have Duressed... Nah, so I think we take Duress and then we try to Flusterstorm. So this looks like a show and tell or a sneak attack. Do we daze here? So if opponent... If I was opponent, I'd probably want to have that sneak attack in play. But maybe this is his bait spell. What's he got? 2 cards in hand, so he would have had to rip a fatty off the top. It's got 3 known cards. Double Duress is nice. Especially now we know that his actual action cards... I think we should have held the Brainstorm to let us go off after the Doomsday. But the double Duress is going to be really good. It's going to let us just rip through his action. And still hold up some nice ways to just win the game. Oh, sorry, to protect our ways to win the game, I should say. So duress. Okay, so he was just baiting us. So we'll take the Flusterstorm here. So Flusterstorm's the one that we want to take. The reason to take the Fluster over the Show and Tells here is that Flusterstorm is the one that stops us from resolving our combo. And now if he's got a fatty that he's drawn off the top, so we counter the first. So we counter the Show and Tell. So he's still got the ability to cast a second if he does actually have a fatty. And we get to Flusterstorm this now. And then resolve Doomsday, and if he happens to have like a Flusterstorm or a Daze in hand, we're drawing into another Doomsday. So only a card the opponent could have had to beat our Flusterstorm there would be Flusterstorm, and if they... So why are we even playing around this? There is no reason to play around this. If they cast a Show and Tell with an empty hand, they were just throwing cards at us. Never mind. What I'm kind of into doing here is actually just building a pile with Cyclers and being able to draw an Oracle into a Show and Tell. Although given 2 Show and Tells are gone, maybe that's wrong. So instead, yeah, look, an Ideas Unbound pile just seems safer. And if Ideas Unbound doesn't resolve, it may very well not, depending on what opponent has. You can hardcast a Force of Will here if needs be. Now, note we don't cycle the edge until we have the Cavern of until we have the Lotus Petal in play. Just because otherwise, if he forces the Petal and you've got 0 cards in library, you're not winning the game. So I think we're happy with the list that we played. There might sometimes be arguments for Surgical Extraction. Surgical Extraction could, like, coupled with Duress, tag some of their combo pieces, or even their interaction, depending on what their hand looks like, and leave them just dead in the water. But I'm not sure it's correct. I think it might just wind up being cute rather than good. This is a hand with a combo. And a Daze. The Daze probably isn't going to be stellar for us here, but... now there is a question as to whether or not we fetch C. And Ponder. Do we draw a land? I think I almost like getting the Petal into play before casting any spells. And these are all good cards. Once again, we're drawing the Brainstorm because it's actually more valuable for us, I suspect, than the Duress. It's the one that lets us find where to go next, and we just don't want to be surgical. I might be wrong as to it being more valuable than the Duress, but I just feel given where we're at the moment, given we're kind of like a black source off casting out Doomsday, we're more just excited to be able to dig deeper and maybe get rid of the Lion's Eye Diamond. We will, I think, just play land, cast Duress. And if opponent Brainstorms here, I might be into dazing. If they're brainstorming, they're probably trying to protect a combo piece. And we still have Brainstorm, Flusterstorm up in case we're in an emergency and we need to Flusterstorm to take... Oh, so Sneak Attack, Force of Will. So we take the Sneak Attack, that's his action, and he can actually cast it fairly soon. Cast the Brainstorm, hoping to find perfect. So opponent has Force of Will here. And we have Flusterstorm, so here's where we jam. And we're probably just going to make... So, I think we actually need to, given the way our hand shapes up, we need to just make a pile that, if you cast Show and Tell, we can cast Brainstorm and then try to draw into a Thassa's Oracle. Scalding Tarn doesn't do anything, so we need to get rid of that. I wonder if maybe we're meant to take a red elemental blast here somewhere, but whatever. So what this hand lets us do now is if opponent casts Show and Tell next turn, which is the most likely piece of action for them to have, we cast a Brainstorm in response. Brings us down to 4 cards. We put back Cycler Oracle. Oh, sorry, we put back Cycler Oracle. Oops, this is another mistake. I was meant to Brainstorm there. That's pretty bad. That's a very embarrassing mistake. We now need to pass the turn twice instead of just one more time. Actually, no, we don't, because we draw Ponder and then we draw into Cavern of Souls. Pyroblast is fine. And this is going to be the last turn of the game. The only thing that blows us out here is Trick Bind, but we can't play around that. Lion's Eye Diamond does do one thing in that it lets us build Storm in case they Cunning Wish, which is a possibility. Cunning Wish gets Trick Bind, but it looks like they've just got nothing, so we take the match from them, I think. Yep, Pyroblast is fine. So I'm at the point where I'm wondering if people just cast like Pyroblast and Abrupt Decays on our Oracle just to try and punk us and hope that we concede when they remove it and just don't know what our deck does, but unfortunate for them. So last match coming up.